So there's a new article in the Recount that I wanted to share with you because this is, honestly, if I had to sum up in one sentence why Kamala lost, why the Democrats lost against Trump this time, this is probably the biggest factor, and it never occurred to me to say it like this. Okay, so shout out, because this article is amazing here. In 2021, Democrats from Joe Biden to Bernie Sanders framed the fight over Build Back Better as an existential test, a needed opportunity for Democrats to vindicate democracy and cut into working class support for Trumpism. It failed, then Trump won. So, in other words, if you really had to sum up what could have been done differently for Democrats to win, you can keep everything exactly the same, but instead of the Inflation Reduction Act passing, the full original Build Back Better passes. And in that scenario, Democrats would have won. They would have won. So here's what the piece says. Delivering his first address to Congress in 2021, Biden laid out a grand view of the challenge facing his party. We have to prove democracy still works, that our government still works, and that we can deliver for our people, Biden said, announcing a sweeping multi-trillion-dollar package to establish paid family leave, child care support, housing investment, universal pre-K, public community college, Medicare expansion, and more. Later that year, Bernie Sanders was even more blunt, quote, "It's absolutely imperative if democracy is to survive that we do everything that we can to say, yes, we hear your pain and we are going to respond to your needs," he told the New York Times. Across the party, there was agreement that passage of Biden's domestic agenda, now packaged into the Build Back Better Act, represented an existential test for the party. Failure is not an option, warned now House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries. So did Representative Suzanne DelBene, then chair of the centrist New Democrat Coalition, and liberal Senator Ron Wyden, columnists echoed the sentiment. But failure was an option. The Build Back Better Act died, and with it, the vast majority of the programs Biden had proposed. Democrats were ultimately able to pass the Inflation Reduction Act, but even as it delivered the party a significant political and policy victory, including the biggest climate action ever taken by the U.S., the law did not even begin to approach Build Back Better's scope. So what was in it? Paid family leave, child care, universal pre-K, free community college, expanding Medicare, higher minimum wage, lowering all prescription drug prices, expanded child tax credit. That is just some of the things that were in it. Again, this is the original Build Back Better deal. And then, as you all remember, it was Kyrsten Sinema and it was Joe Manchin who basically said, no, we're not doing that. Everybody else got on board. Everybody else got on board. It was those two that said no. And now here we are. Because if that were to pass, it would have been the biggest transformation of the U.S. economy since the New Deal. And you would have seriously, materially improved everybody's life. And when that happens, you win. I mean, look, that's the history of FDR, right? Won the White House 4 times. At his peak, had 80% of the House and 80% of the Senate. It was just a trouncing. Republicans were irrelevant because he delivered for people. And we were this close. And look, you could say some of that blame definitely goes on Joe Biden because he should have found a way to twist the arm properly, play the carrot or the stick game, and get Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin on board. He should have done that. But he didn't. And now here we are. So anyway, they continue in the article and say, but the nuance beyond Build Back Better's failure, how close Democrats came to defying the underlying political dynamics, how remarkable it was that they were able to pass legislation they did, changed nothing about a core fact. The party had been swept into power, promising structural change to the country's economic system, and was unable to deliver. At the precise moment that global economic upheaval and pain hit the country in the wake of this November's results, which saw Republicans making historic gains among the working class, some progressives argue the bill's failure had a steep political cost. Quote, it was a huge blow to our being able to show that we were addressing the economic concerns of people. And in this election, we saw exactly what that looked like, said Pramila Jayapal. It was a massive problem to convince the country that Democrats cared because 2 people managed to block that agenda. If Build Back Better passed, I think Kamala would have won, even if you changed nothing else about the way she ran her campaign, what the messaging was, etc. Keep everything else identical. But pass Build Back Better, I think Democrats would have won. So the devastating reality, though, is they're much more likely to pretend now like, no, the problem wasn't we didn't get Build Back Better through. The problem was we got the Inflation Reduction Act through, and that did too much. That's the fear now moving forward. That's the lesson they'll learn. And that's not good. And that is not good, because that'll keep us in the wilderness for an even longer amount of time. So There's not much else to say, but if anybody asks you, hey, why did Kamala lose? If you want to sum it up in just one sentence, say very simply, Democrats didn't get Build Back Better through. That's why she lost. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.